Caution, a bit of phone fidelity here because I don't want the phone to be mirror imaged. I'm working with some quotes from Dr. Jacob Nordengard here. And I'm going to replace the word I don't want to say that starts with a C and rhymes roughly with dinette with weather. So we start here with Greta Thunberg. You remember you've stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I am one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, blah, blah. How dare you? So, in 2019, another climate summit, Climate Action Summit 2019, a race we can win, was held, led by Secretary Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the the United Nations, which is just a division of the World Economic Forum. Antonio Guterres sat for 10 years on the Board of Trustees at the World Economic Forum with our own Canadian's own Mark Carney. So, however, back to the book. However, this is not a grassroots or youth initiative. The idea for a global climate strike with Greta Thunberg as a poster child was hatched in May of 2015 during the Global Youth Summit, blah blah. It was Antonio Guterres' notion that they needed a poster child to sell the weather crisis. And Thunberg was chosen. The goal of the summit was to develop strategies for how children and youth could best help spread awareness of the weather crisis. This was seen as essential before the upcoming COP21 a few months later. I'm just skipping through various parts here. In the following years, 2016 and 17, Weather Strike initiated repeated weather strikes. Still, what was missing, however, was a teenager who could be a literal poster child for the movement. This person would eventually be found in Sweden. Again, our Greta. I kind of got ahead of the good doctor's work here. May 30th, 2018, Greta was chosen one of 3 winners in a weather competition. Skipping ahead. So in January 2019, Greta was welcomed to the World Economic Forum in Davos, where she delivered her famous speech. I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day. And then I want you to act. I want you to act as you would in a crisis. I want you to act as if the house is on fire, because it is. These successful addresses were followed by appearances in the EU Parliament, the UK House of Parliament, followed by Arnold Schwarzenegger's International Climate Meeting in Australia. As Greta's activism inspired more youth and started spreading across the world, blah, blah, blah. I kind of got ahead of myself there mentioning Greta. I should say at this point, Greta's secretary, although the term handler is more often used, is a Rothschild descendant. Greta's backers and advisors had close ties to the Club of Rome, 350.org, etc., etc. Did I finish off? So anyways, soon after, the UN sprang into action on April 10th, 2019. Kevin Gallagher of Boston University wrote that the Green New Deal proposed by progressives in the United States cannot be achieved in isolation. To tackle weather change and inequality together, all countries need to agree to new rules for international cooperation. Now, I could go on further with that, but I think what we see here... okay. I think this is my summation. Oh, yeah, here we are. So, on December 1st, 2019, Ursula von der Leyen took office as the 13th President of the European Commission. She'd previously held the position as Minister of Defense in Germany and had also been a board member of the World Economic Forum. Actually, she still is a member of the Board of Trustees on the World Economic Forum. When von der Leyen, I should say at this point, the EU Commission holds powerful sway over the sovereign rights of the EU member countries. And we see this still today in European politics. Anyways, when von der Leyen ran for office, she clearly stated her intentions in an address to the European Parliament in 2019. I will put forward a Green Deal for Europe in my first days in office. I will put forward the first ever European weather law, which will set the 2050 target into law. This promise she kept to the letter. The UN Weather Change Conference, COP25, the newly instated Commission presented the European Green Deal. However, the Club of Rome wanted the Commission to rename the proposal New Deal, blah, blah, blah. The Club of Rome, whose ideas were now firmly planted and had, in concert with the Rockefeller network, successfully influenced the agenda of the EU. Despite this efforts, recalcitrant nations like Poland, the Czech Republic, and Hungary blocked the proposals. Something more was required to gain political support for the process. Give me a moment here. So, fuel subsidies. Now we come to the World Bank, headed by, not Antonio Guterres, AJ Banga. Again, powerful WEF member, Board of Trustees. And we have the Rockefeller Family Fund, blah, blah. The leaders were not hard to convince. This was precisely the type of youth movement anticipated by Antonio Guterres a few months earlier. Soon the games would begin. In responding to the need for further public-private action in this area, the World Economic Forum at its annual meeting in Davos in January 2020 brought together leaders from industry and businesses to explore how to catalyze the Green New Deal. So in summation from this chapter 4, I believe it is, of Dr. Jacob Nordengard, according to WEF's technocratic vision, everyone and everything will be monitored and controlled through the use of AI, satellites, robotics, drones, self-driving vehicles, blockchain, CBDCs, genetic engineering, nanotech, and the Internet of Things with synthetic food on the menu. In effect, a global panopticon where all human activity is to be gauged, analyzed, and corrected in real time using a form of social credit. The stage was set. All that was needed now was a trigger to kickstart the process. And remember, we're finishing up in 2020. In the next chapter, chapter 5 of Dr. Jacob Nordengard's work, we will look at the trigger, although I think, if you recall what happened in 2020, you probably have a heads up on it. So, summation. I don't think I need to summate it, do I? The weather crisis was manufactured and still is in play. I guess that would be the summation. Good book, good reviews. I plugged this book, I don't know, a few months back on the channel, and a lot of people had picked up a copy of it. It's available Canadian for, I think it's $40.50 on Amazon. It's available online. And I think that Dr. Jacob Nordengard has social media channels, including YouTube. Although one of these days I'm going to take a look and see what he's doing on the internet. Okay, incoming phone spin or something.